The Cuban Revolution, a story of rebellion, power, and legacy. A small island nation, once dominated by foreign influence, became the epicenter of one of the most dramatic political upheavals of the 20th century. But how did a group of revolutionaries manage to overthrow a powerful regime and change the course of history forever? Let's dive into the story of Cuba's fight for independence, the rise of Fidel Castro, and the legacy of the revolution that still echoes today. To understand the Cuban Revolution, we must first look at what Cuba was like before 1959. Under the rule of dictator Fulgencio Batista, Cuba was a playground for the rich, especially for American businessmen. Havana was a booming city, filled with casinos, nightclubs, and luxury hotels. But beneath this glamorous surface, there was deep inequality. While a wealthy elite thrived, most Cubans lived in poverty, facing unemployment, poor education, and government corruption. Batista's government, backed by the U.S., crushed political opposition and ruled with an iron fist. But change was coming, and it began with a young lawyer named Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro, a charismatic and ambitious lawyer, was determined to fight against Batista's dictatorship. In 1953, he and a group of rebels launched an attack on the Moncada barracks, hoping to spark an uprising. The attack failed, many rebels were killed, and Castro was captured. But instead of being silenced, Castro used his trial as a platform to denounce Batista's regime. His famous speech ended with the words, "History will absolve me." He was sentenced to prison but later released under political pressure. He then fled to Mexico, where he met a revolutionary who would become his right-hand man, Ernesto Che Guevara. In 1956, Castro, Che Guevara, and a small band of revolutionaries boarded the yacht Granma and set sail for Cuba. Their mission? To ignite a guerrilla war. Though initially facing losses, they regrouped in the Sierra Maestra Mountains and launched a successful guerrilla campaign. With support from peasants and urban revolutionaries, their movement grew stronger. Through ambushes, propaganda, and a growing discontent with Batista's rule, the revolutionaries gained momentum. Meanwhile, the Batista government's brutal repression turned more people against him. The tides were turning. By late 1958, the revolution was unstoppable. Key cities fell to the rebels, and Batista, realizing defeat was inevitable, fled Cuba on January 1, 1959. The streets of Havana erupted in celebration as Fidel Castro and his army marched triumphantly into the capital. The Cuban Revolution had succeeded, but the real challenge was just beginning, transforming Cuba's future. With Batista gone, Castro and his new government set out to rebuild Cuba. Land was redistributed, foreign businesses were nationalized, and a massive literacy campaign was launched. Education and healthcare became free for all. However, not everyone welcomed these changes. The U.S. saw Castro's government as a threat, leading to tensions that would soon escalate. As Cuba grew closer to the Soviet Union, the U.S. attempted to overthrow Castro. In 1961, the CIA-backed Bay of Pigs invasion was launched, but it ended in disaster for the U.S.-backed forces. Castro declared Cuba a socialist state, aligning fully with the Soviet Union. This led to one of the most dangerous moments in Cold War history, the Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1962, the world held its breath as the U.S. discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba. A tense 13-day standoff between the U.S. and the Soviet Union nearly led to nuclear war. Finally, a deal was struck. Soviet missiles would be removed from Cuba in exchange for the U.S. removing its missiles from Turkey. The crisis cemented Cuba's role on the global stage and intensified U.S.-Cuba hostilities. The Cuban Revolution left a lasting impact. While Cuba achieved significant progress in healthcare and education, political repression and economic struggles persisted. The U.S. embargo and Cuba's dependence on the Soviet Union led to hardships, especially after the USSR collapsed in 1991. Castro remained a controversial figure. Some saw him as a hero who stood against imperialism, while others viewed him as a dictator. His brother, Raul Castro, took over in 2008, marking the beginning of slow reforms. Today, Cuba continues to evolve. While some reforms have been made, economic and political challenges remain. The legacy of the revolution is still debated. Is Cuba a symbol of resistance or a nation struggling under the weight of its past? One thing is certain, the Cuban Revolution reshaped not just Cuba, but the world. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Thanks for watching.